Hello and welcome to This Week in Haiti in English, where we recap Haiti Liberté's English editorial edition for the week. I'm Joseph Mullen, and my guest today is Kervens Lusson. Uh, Before we begin, Kervens, I don't know, would you like to give a brief introduction for yourself and your work, and then I'll begin with the questions.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kervins Lucien. I'm a Haitian citizen, born and raised, and am currently living in America for the past 6 years. And I've been trying to help my country get better. And that's how I got involved into all of this by trying to deciphering the root cause of it all. And I try to do my best, my citizen duty to help remove all those issues that we have so we can be a prosperous nation. Hope the introduction is not too boring.
No, not at all. That's a perfect
Can you hear me?
recapitulation. Yeah, I can you hear me? I can I can hear you.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, excellent. Well, yeah, that's a perfect way to begin. This article is touching on, I think, a really pressing contradiction right now in the way we look at what's happening in Haiti. And of course, to even, contextualize what's going on kind of prior to the current moment, there is the most famous revolution in history, and probably the most important revolution in history taking place in Haiti. And it isn't really recognized that way by many people. Many historians, especially in the West, don't see it that way. But it is, you know, politically different than, say, the American Revolution, which it's a debate whether that is, on the same type of historical event, let's say, because of the different nature of what happened in Haiti in 1804 and the nature of transforming a society away from one economic mode to another one. So your article is the English title is Haiti Revolt, Violence, Insurrection, or Revolution. And we kind of off the bat have four different categories, let's say, of analysis for what's taking place in Haiti, which I think is a very useful framework again for people who may may know about the Haitian Revolution and then maybe they know the narrative that's been presented by uh, Western historiography, perhaps. But if they do know about it, they may look at the events of 1804 and look at the events that are taking place today and say, what's the connection? All you hear about in the media, especially the American media, is chaos, violence, gangs, et cetera, et cetera. And it doesn't seem like it kind of it seems the way the West portrays it to be more of an abyss of anything happening. Really, there's almost like no real happening other than the word chaos. And I think your article does an excellent job of saying before you even begin to, analyze and decode the events, let's look at that uh, so-called chaos and understand that no matter where you're bandying these words around, there's still always the presence of history and politics, and even, for example, looking at Fanon, you have the political context of violence as a phenomena rather than just violence is just chaos and it's just when chaotic things happen, right? There's some context, there's some uh materialist perhaps understanding of violence that is situated in with whatever is happening in society, whatever stage of society is at that given point. So I want to start there and kind of ask you what of these four revolt, violence, insurrection, or revolution would you use to call Haiti's current moment today?
Okay. If we take our time to analyze what's happening in Haiti, we will see that it is due to institutional violence because there are three forms of violence: institutional violence, reactionary or revolutionary violence, and repressive violence. If there is no institutional violence, the other two cease to exist. So at the current moment, we are in control chaos and organized anarchy,
Hmm.
which means that it's clearly violence. We're not there yet in terms of revolution
Hmm.
because a revolution needs an organization,
Hmm.
it needs an ideology, and it must also be intellectual, political, and also economic. And from what I can see with the data that I have acquired, we're not there yet.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, it's very important, especially the aspect of organization. I mean, where are the spaces for perhaps like political discourse, as an example? And discourse is a theme throughout your article. Uh, you know, considering where even the nature of politics and who is allowed to speak on behalf of whom, and where what are the spaces provided for people to speak. I mean, one thing that has stood out in the Western media coverage of Haiti today is that it's constantly foreign journalists go into Haiti, they interview people, they perhaps interview Jimmy Cherizier, and they kind of extract information from, you know, the NGOs that they use for their contacts on the ground. They use interpreters most likely, and they kind of come away with their own narrative of whatever the situation is, without really asking, you know, how does this fit in, for example, into history? Like, how do we contextualize the events and phenomena that we see happening with the history where Haiti was consistently stolen from, consistently, you know, forced to pay a indemnification for gaining its own liberty. So those contextual details are left out. It's just journalists go in and say, "Oh well, we brought our cameras in. We see there's chaos. We live stream that image back to you at home, watching the nightly news, and that's kind of all you get." So I liked your use of Hannah Arendt on this point in particular. And you have the quote from Hannah Arendt, which is violence reveals the incapacity of a society to provide space for speech and representation. When society has an illegitimate government, right? One that has not been put up for an election of any kind, really is a uh, foreign imposed body onto the nation. How is it possible to have space for representation of the people?
Okay, if we take a look back, we shall see the chronological facts here. In 1804, Haiti won the independence, but never achieved the independence war.
Mhm.
And it is up to us, this generation, to achieve it. Why? Well, after we gained our independence, we were forced to pay indemnization, as you said earlier. And we were also blocked by foreign imperial powers because didn't feel like it was the right time to end slavery, didn't feel like it was the right time to end racism, even though slavery was not truly racism. Okay. Um, from today, what's happening in our current situation, political situation, because we never take our time to look at all these problems, we have allowed foreign government to have so much grip in Haiti through IMF,
Mhm.
World Bank, finance, because we have a form of economy down there that mostly aids. And there's a phrase that I always love to say, for the aid to help us, the aid must help us to get out of the aid.
Mhm.
And that's not happening down there. The NGOs, when they go down there, they're not helping us because they don't help the small, medium enterprise. Mostly they help the multi corporation, you
Mhm.
know? That's one issue. The second issue that we are dependent on imports from the US and other nations. Therefore, that is also a way that we are population of consumerism instead of we do not really produce.
Mhm.
Um, since we don't produce, then they use that to make us do whatever they want. And our leaders, they have no backbone. Why? Because if you look at Haiti right now, or all the political parties, they don't have political ideology. They don't have a political, they're not part of a political cleavage. They are just
Yeah.
survivors.
Yeah.
They are a bunch of anarcho-populists who say who says what they think the people want to hear, but not the truth.
Mhm.
And once they get into power, what they say that the people wanted to hear, they cannot achieve it because they know that's not the real issue. Right? And precisely the US government, they they literally impose government in Haiti for the simple fact that they control our finance, our economy. We are dependent on them to survive. Then whoever they impose that, then the elites, the economic elites down there will support it because the economic elites down there, they also work for the US as a form of bourgeois comprador,
Right.
which means that yes, exactly. And due to all of this, the people were never allowed to speak because they don't need the people to administer this country. Why? When there is election, it's more like a selection than an election. It shows like in an election that they tell you that you can vote this person or that person, but the result is already predetermined by the US government. Perfect example, in 2011, the observer of OAS, Ricardo Setenfus, he said Martelly was in fifth position, and the Secretary of State in the US literally said to the Haitian government at that time, we need Martelly to go into the second round, and we need you to eliminate the government candidate, which was Jude Celestin. And that's how Martelly got selected, and so to speak, elected. Right? And it's been like that for the past 3 decades. Most of the people that we had in power has been imposed on our throat. When you have an imposed government, then you can say that this government does not respect freedom of speech. Why? Because they're not working for you, they're working for the foreigners. So whatever you have to say, it doesn't matter to them because you are not part of the equation. It makes sense.
Yeah, thank you for that. I really agree at the end there, and it makes you think of another alternative to this, of course, being, the space where people in Haiti can actually speak and not be imposed upon, especially by having, the US the massive U.S. embassy in the country, as you mentioned, the massive presence of U.S. aid projects. Uh, Anytime there's, the sweeping in of NGOs to impose their will after a disaster has occurred and how much they profit off of that. So all these ways in which independent development is stymied by foreign intervention. And I think that certainly relates to a lot of what Frantz Fanon has analyzed with respect to how a colonial structure is set up, the fact that the colonizer is the only one who can dictate, even down to the terms of history. They get to rewrite people's history and impose their own narrative, whether that's, eliminating language and tradition. But when it comes to what Fanon was analyzing in Algeria, in Ghana, and trying to look at the future after decolonization had occurred in the beginning, right? The violent overthrow in the most immediate term, perhaps, of the settler government that was there. As you mentioned, he in the article you connect him to Mikhail Bakunin, who talked about the need for popular self-organization and the problem that insurrection can in itself be hijacked by a new form of bourgeoisie or bureaucrat, or however it ends up going. So I'm curious, in your analysis of the popular neighborhood committees, or armed committees that are being set up, are they at risk of that problem, that there could be imposition of a new group that tries to set up their own clientelist, uh, structure, as you were analyzing with the way political parties are set up? They're just set up to have chiefs, basically, and have this kind of structure that just feeds whoever is at the top. Are they, in terms of, popular organization, how democratic are they in your estimation?
Okay. Um, in order to understand that part, we must go back. What happened is 87% of more than 87% of Haitian intellectuals are not living in Haiti. They are living abroad, which means that we don't have the qualified human resources, the skilled workers, the people who can help us, the people who can help us move away from what we are facing. What happened is most of the people in those neighborhoods, like where that are controlled by the gangs, so to speak, Viva Sam and the others, they are not well instructed and they are not educated, neither political, economic, or in any sort of form, right? So even if they want power, even if they want a form of political representation within the power structure, but they don't have the know-how. So they have the brute violence, the brute force to express their anger, their frustration, the injustice, the impunity of the system. However, they cannot themselves be part of it because they don't have the qualification. Because education in Haiti has always been an issue. Like if you look at the data, you would see that the majority of people in Haiti have not yet been educated or instructed academically. So now you have an issue where whatever they decide, they have to give the power to the people who can. And that's what happened when they push Ariel Henry. power. They had the power and they had to negotiate with the traditional political class because they didn't have anyone within themselves to represent them. Get it right?
Sorry, can you hear me? I think my internet might have
Yes.
flipped out for a second, but yeah, I got all of your response. I heard it, and yeah, it makes me think. It, it makes me think that another part you're making use of Nietzsche in this article, and especially when it comes to kind of what you were just referring to, which is the need for, well, just to quote directly from your article, not needing so much moral truth, but structural truth. And I think it's interesting when it comes to like the NGOs that flock into Haiti, especially from the West. A lot of them are fixated on how catastrophic everything is. They, constantly are using epithets to describe Haiti and saying this is the most unlucky country and all this stuff, which totally takes away, obviously, from this use of luck and fortune and even and disaster and all this is kind of taking away from the structural ways in which slowly over time by deliberate action, uh, perhaps kind of the Hannah Arendt idea of the banality of evil. Some might call on that a little bit, that's part of it, of how really a society can be captured and devastated by just even perhaps the road to hell being paved with good intentions by these NGOs and the Clintons and whatever. So it's especially it makes me wonder whether there's a form of organization that can come about when you try to combat this bureaucratic or the banality of evil that can be in that way helping people be organized in their day-to-day lives, uh, that isn't so fixated on spectacular violence as the only way to change society, but also doesn't reinforce that the conditions that people are living in are acceptable, because most of the time the NGOs seem to not, they're more than happy to kind of just help people survive. They don't really want to like uplift people beyond their conditions in any way. So I'm not sure that's a question, more of a kind of a reaction or a thought, from what you were saying. I guess the best way to pose the question would be, how can a political organization come about that could kind of bring together what you're saying, where you have intellectuals in the diaspora who are politically nationalist, for example, or anti-imperialist for that matter, and connect them to the working masses in Haiti and kind of literally bridge that geographical, spatial divide that, prohibits this kind of communication to begin with.
If I get the question, you mean why is the people living abroad is not are not, you know, organizing to help the
Not
nation? That
not
is
so
the
much
question, right?
why are they not, because I think there's evidence that many are, but what is the best strategy to make it more effective, because you do have you know the divide that does exist, where people may not uh, be as able to. Yeah, I mean, people who are living abroad, and as you were saying, like the intellectual class, 87% of which has left Haiti. How can they connect to people who are being uneducated by the the fact that there is no apparatus to kind of keep them uh in touch with like a revolutionary perspective. What method can you do um beyond, just as you say, you don't want propaganda, you don't want to just propagandize, you want to tell the truth to people.
Okay. What I think is culture is the first profession of mankind. It's necessary to the survival of the species, right? Right now in Haiti, we have different form of insecurity. We have food insecurity. If these people want to help, they need to with a solution for the food insecurity. And then that way, the people will start listening to them. What I mean by that, we have more than 5.5 million people in humanitarian situation, basically, and food insecurity in Haiti, which means they don't know what they're gonna eat today or tomorrow. Therefore, we need an industrial revolution from the diaspora,
Hmm.
which means that they need to value to um, the production, to the agriculture by either transformation of agriculture products or conservation. And then that way we will have our food autonomy, no? And why I say that, there's a saying that say, hungry belly has no ears. When the people are hungry, they don't care how educated you are or not. They are not willing to listen. They just want to survive. They just want to be able to preserve themselves. And I feel like the diaspora, they talk, but they're not really doing any action to solve the most basic needs of the people. And I think that's where we need to start.
Yeah, I really agree with that.
And there's a big difference also with,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, sure. You could go on. But yeah, I was gonna say that there's a big difference between nationalism and patriotism. Nationalism has become obsolete. I think what we need is a renewed sense of patriotism. Um, why? Because nationalism today is mostly considered outdated or even in a negative and connotation to chauvinism, exclusion, or identity politics that can turn toxic. However, patriotism is generally seen as more legitimate, honest, and constructive, where ones have a love for one's country without necessarily falling into hostility towards others. Why I say that, we need other nations to make Haiti prosper. We need the U.S. We need the global South. We need everyone. However, we need a fair and understandable deal.
Yeah, my last question, just because I know we're running a little bit low on time, and I thought that last point was very important. So let me think of the best way, I guess, to ask this last question with our time. I wanted to especially kind of go to your use of, you're really analyzing, I think, in a lot of ways, the state and the role of the state, even with, again, that last point that you just made of, is one's loyalty to the state and its current iteration, or is one's loyalty to one's community, one's homeland? That's a big distinction. You use the term rent machine to describe the state, which I thought was very precise and correct to describe the current nature of the state. And a lot of, you have Bakunin in this article, And a lot of theorists like that. Fanon, of course, was trying to look at the post-colonial state and what it was beginning to evolve into in Algeria, who may be a little bit cynical about the possibility of building a state that is not in some way uh, extractive and or exploitative. So I guess with just the 5 or so minutes we have left, do you envision a new state being built? Perhaps the evolving from the idea of the state that Toussaint Louverture, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, and the founders of Haiti had an idea of the state, and it went back and forth over time between a republic, there was a monarchy, an empire, and different iterations of the state. So, what do you think is the vision of the state that Vivant Somme has, that the working class may have, and what do you envision? What do you personally envision that it will evolve into?
When you look at things right now, you will see that we have a failed state. The state only exists on paper in Haiti because it is being captured by the economic elites and the international community, most like precisely the US. However, I think we need to rebuild the state. How? Because we need strong institution. We need to respect the rule of law. In order to do that, we need to go back to constitutional order, not the 1987 constitution, but the 1805 constitution, where it specifically explained our raison d'etre, why our ways of being, why we are here, why this nation exists. Every nation has their own ways of seeing their future, why they exist. And Haiti exists to help the oppressed people around the world because that's what our ancestors wanted to do. They wanted a nation where freedom, liberty will be for all, not only for Haitian, but whoever landed in Haiti or whoever believe in our idea, then shall be free. And today, we're not projecting those ideas. And I think that's where we need to go back. We need to go back to our foundation to see that what our ancestors fought for, is it really where we are going right now? And I don't think so. For example, the US as the manifest destiny, that's their goal. And I think for Haiti, our goal should be, first of all, to promote freedom, to promote human dignity, because when we stop Napoleon Bonaparte to reestablish slavery in Haiti, that was the goal. We wanted to promote, we wanted to show the world that human dignity is necessary for social cohesion. And right now, we're not there at all. And I think that's the main issue because we are mostly being controlled by international actors. And the reason to that is because we never take our time to satisfy the basic needs of the people. And that's why the international community, precisely the US, has its grip on us. They have leverage because we cannot provide for ourselves. In order for you to become a strong state, then you need to be able to satisfy the basic needs of the people and have strong institutions. Hope I answered the question, or was it really the question you asked?
Absolutely, yeah. It does lead me to wonder how to kind of I really think it's very uh, illuminating what you said of the reference to Haiti's founding principle of fighting slavery in particular wherever it existed, the fact that citizenship could be available to anybody as long as they were committed to that principle. So that, as you're saying, is very much missing in the current moment. And I think it's a very, very important principle to rally around and kind of have as the leading idea for the state and for the nation as a whole. So I guess it remains to be seen. My kind of question as we're wrapping the discussion up, or not really a question so much for you to have to answer, but just to kind of think of going forward is, how to bring those two necessities together, how to have both a state that can go fight oppression all over the world, protect its people at home, at the same time, and kind of have a very, an internationalist perspective while also being committed to the people domestically, is a very important vision. Um, it was a pleasure talking with you, and this is an excellent article. I highly recommend it for anybody to check out. Again, the title is Haiti Revolt, Violence, Insurrection, or Revolution. And just before we wrap up, can people read your work? Is there anything you want to plug before wrapping up?
Thank you for having me. I always love being part of the IT Liberty family, and it was a pleasure to be here to um, answer the questions and help the people understand better what is going on and how we can get ourselves away from this situation. If anyone wants to know more about my writing, then they could follow me on Instagram, which is the same name, Curvens Lycée, as the username will be